Hey, what's up everybody? Gravel racers, you know James Walsh, who I'm going to talk about. Road racers that follow me on Strava, this is how this video kind of came about because someone was digging into the different types of over-unders that I do. But James Walsh, who a lot of people follow, and especially people that listen to the podcast, because he was an OG podcast interviewee on the channel, he was posting on Instagram. He's doing the lactate clearance VO2 blocks that we put together on Training Peaks. And somebody messaged me and said, hey, that looks kind of cool, but I noticed on Strava that you do all these different variations. Do you have these as files? And would you ever put that together as like your top 20 and post online? So I'm going to do that, but I thought, I don't want to say it's 25 workouts, and I'll explain why. It really comes down to about 7 different types, and that's what this video is going to be about. My 7 favorites, why I do them, when I do them, and you can make all these on your own. So this gives you a ton of free content, and then at the end I'll show you where you can purchase under $50. I'm gonna give you 25 workouts, and then you can drag and drop them into your calendar if you just don't have time to make them, because building the over-unders, depending on what platform you do it on, can kind of be a pain in the butt. So classic over-unders, actually classic is not really the same to everybody. There's some internet forums where if you talk about a classic over-under, they're going to more talk about 105% and an under at 95 or 90. To me, that's not an over-under as I know. Back in the day before I was calling them over-unders, Jason Hillenmeyer was giving me threshold bursts, which were riding at 100% and quick blips above threshold to about 115, 120% FTP. Tom Bell, my former coach, opened my eyes up to really, according to the literature, we clear, and this is going to vary athlete to athlete, obviously, the most lactate, somewhere between 70 to 90% FTP. It's more like 80 to 90%. So what I consider a classic over-under is a surge at 115 to 120% FTP, and then the under is more around 80 to 85% FTP. The reason I like these, and they're my number one, is there is an endless variation that you can do. And I think if you anchor it with 30-second overs and 2-minute unders and start with a total duration of about 12 minutes, the 3 metrics that you want to play with are the over, how long do you do it? Keep it to the same intensity. The under, how long is that? And then the duration of it. So 12 minutes, 15 minutes. After about 20 minutes, I mean, it's a great way to do 3x20s because it's way more fun than doing 3x20s at any constant power. Now, this really becomes a VO2 max, the over, and a tempo ride, the under. You may see, and especially if you lack aerobic fitness, that your heart rate will slowly escalate because of the VO2 max slow component. So you'll be getting VO2 max work from the heart rate side of things, the cardiac side of things. And that's something that I use as, I don't necessarily want to get that. If I do, I take note, hey, this is kind of like a VO2 max workout also, as well as lactate clearance. But I'm hoping that when I'm aerobically fit, it doesn't rise as much as it does earlier in the season. So that's a good metric that you can use over time. That's going to vary on where you do this, the temperature, where in the training block you are. That's why a heart rate can be so fickle. But these are really good rides, and start with 30 seconds and 2 minutes, then make it 45 seconds and maybe 2.5 minutes as a way to elongate the whole session. You can do a minute, and then kind of going into number 2, which I think is a whole separate subset on its own because I do find them much more difficult. I'm N of 1, you might be different, is the hard starts, whether it's a 3-minute, 4-minute hard start at 110 to 115%. So not as hard as the short surge, but really create a ton of lactate and then go into the over-under segment. Number 1, that is one of my go-to race preps because it's not that it's a workout that's going to crush me, but when I can complete it and I feel really good, I know I'm ready to race because I can put in this hard dig, whether I'm chasing down guys that have just taken off, whether I'm trying to create a break, whether it's time to bridge, you have to go not full gas, but pretty darn hard for 4 or 5 minutes, and maybe you're getting away from people. There's a million different scenarios, right? And then just that undulating power. You're never truly just pegging one power, at least I'm not in a race. There's times when you want to be going harder or a little bit less hard and trying to clear lactate. And that's what we're trying to accomplish in these. So you're really shuttling and clearing lactate through the entire set when you're doing a hard start. Number 3 is more race specific. Breakaway Simulation. So one of the files that I made goes through 3 different types of sims. When I think of breakaways, there's times where the moment you're like, this is the time to go, and you light a match, and then it's one big burn, and then you're trying to hold threshold plus for the next 8-10 minutes to get away. Maybe people are chasing you down to come and bridge up, but it's full gas. So the first one is like a single attack and riding super hard. The other one is more multiple surges, right? You bridge over 3 guys, you sit up, you see people are coming, people attack over you, your teammate doesn't come, you gotta go, there's multiple surges, and then you get in the break. So I have one that focuses on that style, and then there's obviously surges within a breakaway at times, and that especially happens when you're racing faster people, because that is not a surge to them, but that is a surge to us because we are weaker than them. Those are more like the threshold bursts. And so I have one workout that kind of combines all of these. You're really working on a very similar physiological aspect throughout the entire workout, but it's obviously mentally honing you in on different race type situations. Now, number 4 is more of what other people would call classic, and I would consider these better for a time trialist who's trying to really avoid surges. There's going to be surges in certain types of time trials where it is much more beneficial to go over FTP, and I have a video on YouTube about that, how to race the fastest, not the constant power. That's not usually the fastest on almost any course. But these over-unders, just something to change up doing constant power, 105% and 95%. That to me can be like a 2-man pace line sometimes, where it's not exact. A pace line, you're still going to be going definitely under 95%, but this is just a different style of over-under that I don't even truly feel like, according to the papers, the literature, you're not focused solely on the lactate clearance. So maybe we should put an asterisk on that. Does that even belong in this set? They're there though, and people love doing them, and they're tough. So I think there's value to it for sure. Number 5, longer suprathreshold blocks where the recovery is more endurance power. You're still going to be getting lactate clearance work from that. And I think the suprathreshold, I'm a huge proponent of riding at 110% for many different durations, just because there's, number 1, I believe that is truly how we get faster, of elongating the time at riding an FTP, but also if you are incorporating some clearance work by riding endurance in between them and then forcing yourself to go over, but you're not going full throttle like 120% at a really hard surge. Doing those blocks physically is good for us, but also the mental side of things. I've said this 5 times, maybe on Instagram, the number of people that set a 30-minute PR by doing 6x6 minute blocks and reducing the rest is incredible. It is like, I want to say 3 out of 4 people. It blows my mind. Rest reduction is really cool. So I put a bunch of those in there. Then I put a couple that are very indoor specific when you are just not wanting to ride the trainer, even an over-under starting to feel like a death march. It has wild variations so that you would never do this on the road because you wouldn't want to be looking down to try and hit these specific targets, but it's just much more specific at changing the target for you to stay engaged while still actually getting something physiological out of the workout. And then the last one is, it's one workout only. It's Landry's headbanger that I have not done yet. And I looked back through Training Peaks. He did it a couple times last year. He might do it more often, just title it something differently. But it's 120% with 100%. He calls it a Rook, like the chest piece. And I did it when I was not fully prepared for what I was getting myself into and did not make it through all 3. So I put Landry's headbanger in there. It's actually the first one. You can preview it on Training Peaks. But take all 6 of those, create your top 20, create a bunch of different ones. Find the ones that you execute well, because you want to be able to execute these intervals. I don't think it's smart to always have 8 million variations to things, because then you're always trying to get the right road. You're trying to figure out exactly how long do you go. You're too worried about looking at the head unit. Find top 20 that you like. Find the ones that you execute the best. And then I would say focus on those. And that's why I've really kind of narrowed it down to 6 different styles. 5 are really applicable to being on the road. And I wouldn't do the time trial ones as often because I don't find as much benefit for myself as that. So my groupings are my classic over-unders, the 120 and the 85s, the hard starts for sure, the breakaway sims, and the Suprathreshold blocks. And then I just pick and choose from those when I make a calendar with Landry. And your coach should always have feedback for you as to why you're doing which ones, and find the ones that work best for you. It's all about you. Good luck with your training 2023. Excited to see what you do. Tell a friend about the blog. Tell a friend about the videos we do. If you can help us grow a little bit, we greatly appreciate it. We are the little kids on the block, slowly trying to grow up and get bigger. Thanks for all of your support. We greatly appreciate it. See ya.